going on, Packers fans? Aaron Nagler here with some gut reactions from a really frustrating loss to the Minnesota Vikings from your Green Bay Packers. A valiant effort there in the second half to storm back and make it a game, but ultimately, too many mistakes from the Packers, continuously shooting themselves in the foot throughout the contest, certainly in the first half. Shout out to the Vikings. Respect. They came in, absolutely got on the front foot, and did what they wanted early in this game. But Matt LaFleur's crew did come back, and they certainly showed some heart there in the second half. You love the way they never gave up. They absolutely were in it till the end, but too many mistakes. I mean, the obvious thing to point at here is the missed field goals from Narvison. If he makes those, it's a totally different game down at the end. But there were lots of other things that contributed to this Packers loss, from a rusty Jordan Love early in the game, certainly didn't seem comfortable early on, to a defense that could not get off the field on third down for much of the first half. Turnovers, fumbles, interceptions, way too many mistakes from the Green Bay Packers to overcome and win against a really good Vikings team. That's the other thing. You got to tip your cap. That's a really talented squad that Minnesota brought into Lambeau Field in week 4. But it is week 4. There's a lot of ball game left. There's a lot of season left. I know there will be a lot of hand wringing and wanting people fired or cut or what have you. There's a long way to go. Who you are in late September is not who you are in late December. We know what the Packers are capable of. We know they have a ton of talent. They have got to clean a lot of stuff up, but there is still a lot of promise in this team. There's a lot of ball game left when it comes to the 2024 season. With that said, let's chat, shall we? We got a bunch of super chats already lined up. Start with Ed. No pressure on Darnold in the first half. Rusty Love and no kicker hurt. Slow starts will bite you. Watched a boatload of college kickers doing just fine from 50+ yesterday. Just saying. True, but they're also dealing with different hash marks. I'm just saying that left hash mark, it's a doozy. It is certainly the kryptonite in Lambeau Field for the last couple Packers kickers. No doubt about it. Jocelyn, thank you for the super chat. Love never took off the Favre jersey. I mean, you're not wrong. Shout out to Jordan Love for a incredibly cool, classy gesture to Brett Favre. I saw Brett pay his respects essentially to Jordan on Twitter prior to the game. Hope Brett gets all the help he needs in his battle with Parkinson's. And certainly when you talk about Jordan's game today, you saw the good and the bad. As Ed indicated there, you certainly saw the rust early in the game. But I will also point out, for all the frustrating plays and the plays that didn't go the way he wanted, he is there at the end battling to the point where they go 90+ yards in a minute to make it a game at the end and put themselves in a position to at least attempt an onside kick. Now, we won't talk about the actual onside kick, but that is incredible work from a quarterback who kept getting hit, kept getting flustered, and kept coming back and firing his bullets right there at the end. I mean, that drive was incredible, and that's Jordan Love. Ralph, succinct super chat. This pass rush is garbage. Yeah, the most concerning part was the lack of interior pressure. You knew they have really good tackles. There was going to be a tough row to hoe, so to speak, from your defensive ends. And even when they were exerting some pressure and getting up the field, they kept leaving basically escape lanes for Sam Darnold to escape out of, which he did on a couple of occasions. But yes, the lack of pressure from the interior, whether it was Devontae Wyatt, whether it was Kenny Clark, TJ Slayton, what have you. They made some things happen in the second half with blitzes and with design, but their straight 4-man rush was nowhere to be found. And you absolutely hate to see that, especially now that Devontae Wyatt has been injured, and who knows what that prognosis is. Steve Snyder, thanks for the super chat. Thanks for being here for us, Nags. As my brother said, you can't spot them 28 points and expect to win. Brewers question, would you rather play Arizona or the Mets? Oh, the Mets, simply because I've got like, I don't know, bad juju with the Diamondbacks. Like, I just see Brewers Diamondbacks this time of year and assume the Brewers are going to screw up, going to give up too many runs. They're going to go completely quiet at the plate. It's just where my brain is. Plus, if, they play the Mets, hey, I'm in New York. Yeah, I'm down to rub it in Mets fans' faces if the Brewers can win. I'm down about that. Matthew Clark, good to see you still staying up, buddy. We got to lose 2 to go 15-2, Nags. Go, Pack, go. Hope those Bavarian beers are keeping you right. Brian, thank you so much for becoming a Carry the G Club member. Really appreciate the support, man. Thank you so much. Nathaniel, thank you for the super chat. Jordan arrived wearing the Favre jersey and made some Favre-like decisions. That last pick in the end zone cannot happen. I mean, it's brutal. And Matt talked about it just now post-game about getting the 0 look and the Vikings essentially fooling Jordan with that look and the route combination on the outside or the route call on the outside. You hate to see it. Hopefully he learns from it. But hey, like I said, he also comes back and leads them on an amazing 90-yard touchdown drive to put him in position to get that onside kick attempt. That's not nothing. I understand. It's a frustrating moment. Hopefully he learns from it. That is the hope here. Ryback, thanks for the super chat, man. Nags, if you could one thing on offense and defense, what would you fix? One thing on offense and defense? Man, on defense, got to win inside. You cannot let that team come into the building and be as efficient as they were in the first half, and Darnold would be as comfortable as he was throughout the first half without some kind of interior pressure. I mean, that was atrocious. And I would have also preferred, and I know if anybody was on the watch party, you know what I'm going to say, those first third downs in each half, whether it was I believe a 3rd and 14 or 3rd and long, essentially, on the opening drive where they played passive, rushed 4, played soft-ass zone like Joe Barry never left, and oh, look, they convert and they go on, score a touchdown on the next play on first down. Or opening drive in the second half, 3rd down, getting a chance to get on the front foot and put some pressure on the quarterback. Again, bail out, show pressure, but bail out, play soft zone, and get exposed and allow a first down. Now, that said, I understand that Hafley's in a bit of a bind throughout this game, having lost Jair Alexander on essentially Friday, where he didn't practice, had been through practice Wednesday and Thursday, injured himself, got injured in practice on Thursday. So you're essentially kind of having to, change your game plan, certainly 2 days before the game starts. You're a bit hamstrung not having Jair and Carrington Valentine. And I think you saw that on display a couple times when he did send pressure. You play man on the backside. Okay, you got to get home, because if you don't, and the Packers didn't on a number of occasions, yeah, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison are going to make you pay. And they certainly did at times today. I just would have liked to see a little bit more roulette being played to try and keep Sam Darnold guessing. Clearly, in the second half especially, did a nice job of keeping him off balance. Certainly that big play from Keyshawn Nixon causing the strip sack fumble. That's a great call, great slot pressure there. Backside, blindside, absolutely love it. Not essentially we'll go to call that more because, of course, it's down in distance. It's personnel. There's a lot of things that line up there for them. But just would have liked a little bit more, again, aggression on 3rd down to try and get Sam Darnold off the spot. Too many times they rushed 4, got absolutely nowhere. And whether they were playing man or zone, but particularly when they were playing man, means your corners and your secondary are back to the quarterback, running with a guy. Sam Darnold steps up, finds an escape route, steps up, gains yardage, gains a first down, and they're on to live for the next 1st and 10. That's a hard way to live. Hard way to live. David, thanks for the super sticker. Appreciate you. Abdul, thanks for the super chat. What's your assessment of our run D? Well, they got taken advantage of on a couple of occasions, especially some of the off-tackle stuff. You certainly saw that at the start of the second half where Jones got around the edge. Aaron Jones finished with 93 yards, averaging 4.2 yards per carry on 22 attempts, which, by the way, I thought Aaron Jones disintegrated if you gave him 20-plus carries a game, but apparently not. Seems to be right as rain. Overall, I think the Packers did an okay job against the rush. I really do. Jones certainly going to get his. He's a really talented back, but I don't think that's what killed them today. Not by any means. John Moore, thanks for the super chat. They will be 6-2 by the time they play the Lions. Come on, John. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, that's a possibility, most certainly. Now, got to go out, travel west next week, take care of business. That's the first order of business, but I like where your head's at. I'm down with it. You certainly saw a lot to get you, not even going to say excited because it's hard to get excited after a loss, but you saw a lot of promising things on display. The problem is you also saw what seems to be creeping into a bit of a pattern here is the Packers shooting themselves in the foot. Penalties in the red zone. On the very first drive of the game, Elton Jenkins has a false start. After Matt LaFleur legit stood at the podium earlier this week and said, one of the things that's killing us in the red zone is pre-snap penalties and our own penalties driving us back and making it more difficult to convert in the red zone. Well, what happens? A false start drives them back, and then they miss the kick. And the die is cast in the first half there. It's tough, man. It's tough. Zane, thanks for the super chat. Nags, lots of optimism still. Feels like both losses, we beat ourselves and the issues feel fixable. Tyler Herrick, lifetime contract. Hey, I agree. Tyler Herrick, he's good in my book, no matter what, forever with Cheesehead TV, 100%. As far as the, they've beat themselves, yes, 100%. They certainly beat themselves in addition to the Vikings beating them today. Got to give the Vikings credit. As I said at the top, that's a good team. They played well. They definitely played well enough to win. But yes, the Packers certainly hurt themselves repeatedly today. And yes, fixable. No question, fixable. And there is a lot of season left. However, 4 games in, that's 1 quarter of the season and a game. I mean, at some point, you become what you are. You are who you are. And the Packers at this moment are dangerously close to becoming that team that always hurts themselves. They certainly have been through the first month of the season, even in victory. We've seen this occur. So, yeah, they're fixable, but waiting on the fix. Waiting on the fix. Soder, thanks for the super chat. Calling that an onside kick is being generous. Soder, I'm glad you brought this up. I'm gonna address Rich Bisaccia for a moment. Rich, what would you say you do here? I mean, whether it's onside kicks that have zero chance of success or, sending back punt returners who apparently don't know, just catch the ball and get out of bounds there and don't let it bounce behind you and get caught inside the 5-yard line on a drive that ultimately ends in an interception, that next drive for the offense, or, kickers who can't kick. What would you say you do here as the special teams coordinator? I'm dying to find out. Rye, what's going on, man? Aaron Rodgers would quit in these games. Love fought hard. It's an interesting take, Rye. I'm not so sure I agree with you early in Rodgers' career. I think a lot of people are probably colored by the dour, every time the camera pans to him after a drop version of Rodgers we saw towards the end of his time in Green Bay. But I don't think I agree that, second year as a starter, Rodgers would have quit in this type of game. I think he would have kept on slinging it and did. I mean, this is kind of the Favre thing all over again. People only remember latter day Favre, and they very rarely remember 3 times in a row MVP Favre. And it seems like, especially maybe a bit on the younger fan side, they only remember dour Rodgers, and they don't remember how fucking awesome and full of life and vitality and gunslinging. Yes, I said it. He was earlier in his career because he was, man. He was. Go back and watch the Arizona Cardinals playoff game. I think still the highest scoring playoff game of all time. They get down early in that game. I mean, I think Rodgers, that's his first playoff game. He throws a pick on his first pass in the playoffs ever. He never stopped coming. He never stopped throwing it. He never stopped slinging. He never stopped throwing touchdowns and big plays. Don't let the end of Rodgers color the entire time Rodgers had in Green Bay. He's an all-time great. All-time great. Ralph, what's up, man? Thanks for the super chat. I wish we could draft defense like the Steelers. Yeah. It is about type, right? And they certainly have a type. They like their athletes. They certainly don't like him hard-nosed, though. That is very apparent. David, thanks for the super chat. 9 carries for Jacobs isn't enough. Could not agree more. And I know someone asked, I can't remember who it was, I apologize, but someone in the postgame asked Matt about the workload between Wilson and Jacobs. And Matt punted and said, I got to go look. I don't even know what the distribution is, etc. But it certainly looked like they were taking turns as far as their drives go. And maybe that's Ben Simmons making that call. But, man, Jacobs is a dynamo. And I understand Wilson has played well and has run well and has certainly shown that he can hold up in pass pro and did today. There were a number of times where he stepped up in there, put his face, like he did his job. I'm not denigrating Wilson by saying Josh Jacobs needs to be a focal point of this offense, especially with Jordan coming back and dealing with that knee. And they were running almost exclusively out of the gun and or pistol. Get Jacobs the ball early and often. Yeah, that was a bit mystifying to me. I'm with you on that one. Celestial, what's going on? Do you think our front four ain't as good as we thought? THOT. Somewhat, yeah, certainly. They certainly weren't today. Now, again, as I talked about earlier in the stream, man, they're dealing with some really good tackles. The disconcerting part is the lack of interior pressure. That's what's upsetting after this game. Mike, what's going on, man? Thanks for the super chat. Same thing happened last year. We'll get them back in the dome, just like last year. 11 is our number 1 wide receiver. Go, Pack, go. Jaden Reed is a dog, man. I love me some Jaden Reed. And I also love your attitude, Mike. I mean, that is it, right? You win at home, you're just hold and serve. Now the Packers have gone down 1. They got to get back to Minnesota and show them what's what. That's the gig. That's where they've placed themselves, no doubt. Joseph Bell, what's going on, man? Thanks for the super chat. Very disappointing with Wicks today. Also, Narv Puppy. Yeah, Narv Puppy. You ain't wrong. Yeah, Wicks, up and down game. Obviously had a couple touchdowns. You love to see that kind of production, but you also saw some brutal drops and some brutal plays and one that ended up as an interception. And I get it's a little bit behind him, but you're an NFL wide receiver. You're supposed to catch that. And he would tell you that. I kind of somewhat jokingly, but half jokingly, because there's an ounce of truth in every joke, tweeted out that, there was a lot of talk coming off of last season, this summer, about Dontavian Wicks is the new Devontae, and he does have a great release off the line of scrimmage. Well, he's definitely taking that to heart, complete with a struggling season in his sophomore effort. Because, man, he has not been consistently good nearly enough so far through 4 games. And that's not telling tales out of school. That is just what has transpired on the field. Now, he has every opportunity to turn that narrative around. Certainly, again, had some nice plays today, but left way too much on the field. Way, way too much. Need a lot more consistency, especially in a game where you lose Christian Watson. So you got to understand you're going to get more opportunities. And he did because Watson wasn't out there. And he only came up 50-50. You got it. He needs to be way more consistent. Absolutely. Michael, what's going on, man? Thanks for the super chat. How do we fix the penalty issues? Not a great start to the season discipline-wise. Wish I knew, Michael, and I'm sure they wish they knew. It's a hard one, man, because ultimately it is down to the players. You can drill it. You can talk about it. You can emphasize it. But at some point, the guys have to take ownership. The players have to own that. And right now, through 4 games, they have not. Because they keep happening. I don't know well, what else to tell you. Stefan S., what's up, man? Andy Herman just tweeted that number 52 had 1 sack in the last 11 games. That is absolutely not meeting his prize tag. I believe you mean price tag. And yeah, you're not incorrect. When you are paid a eye-popping sum of money like Rashawn Gary was, although I will caveat this with someone in the chat during the watch party was like, he's getting paid Bosa and Max Crosby money, which is not true at all. He has certainly gotten paid, and he's certainly one of the top 10 paid edge rushers in the league. And yes, to your point, he has got to be more productive. There is no question about it. And no doubt, he's facing some really good tackles today, but you're supposed to be one of the better edge rushers in the game. And he has not gotten home. Now, there are mitigating circumstances here. There is pressure to be involved and talked about, and certainly we saw that on display last week where his pressure resulted in a sack for Lucas Van Ness. That is all part of the game. But ultimately, you will be judged by sacks because of what you got paid. That is the NFL. I don't really, go down that road too much. You guys know I talk about it all the time. I care about pressures. Unfortunately, there's not nearly enough pressures either through 4 games. Got to turn up the heat. Abdul, thanks for the super chat. They better be at least trying out a few kickers this week. I suspect there's a good chance they will be. I know Matt was very diplomatic about it when he was asked after the game, talking about how he still had belief in Narveson, which I understand because it's not his call, right? He doesn't have control of the roster. So if Narveson is still in the building next week, he needs Narveson to at least think that Matt has belief that he can go out there and make these kicks, right? But I suspect Brian Gutekunst is, if not on the phone during the game, then certainly right after the game. Because look, if Narveson makes those kicks, they probably win the game. I mean, that is math, right? So yeah, that's a tough one. Pilled, social media, what's up? Thanks for the super chat. Can we now put Wicks over Watson? With Watson out, our receiving core actually comes alive. Wicks way better than him, in my opinion. No, that's really silly. And you are simply talking about results in a game where how do you know that Watson doesn't come down with all the drops that Wicks had? Didn't think about that one, did you? No, you don't put Wicks over Watson. Absolutely not. Watson's got to get healthy, but no. Sam, thanks for the super chat. At least it isn't watching Ladarius Gunter on Julio Jones bad. Oh, I don't know. There were a couple plays where they sent Jefferson in motion and Nixon traveled with him. And my heart was in my throat. Oh, this is not good. And on one of those occasions, they did go to Jefferson for a big first down. But yeah, no, it was never Gunter on Julio bad. At least we can say that. That's good. Vex, thanks for the super chat. Packers come in with barely a plan at QB. What? Man, go outside. Breathe the air. Get away from the internet for a little bit. I have no idea what you're talking about. Keith, thanks for the super chat. Hey, Vikings, when's the parade? I mean, yeah, I'm sure you're going to encounter Vikings fans online this week that will give you all sorts of hell for good reason. They won the game. They get to crow. But ultimately, it's a win in late September that doesn't signify a whole lot other than just one W. And in the all-world pantheon of this universe, still don't have a Lombardi. So, let them crow. It's fine. We'll get ours back later in the season, much like we did last season. Kalani, thanks for the super chat. Does Narveson make it through tomorrow as kicker? Any other options? Well, they have Hale on the practice squad, the Aussie. I doubt they make that kind of move, but does Narveson make it through tomorrow? There's absolutely every chance that he gets cut in the next 24 hours. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Brian did say he needs to be more patient with specialists, and it will always be hilarious to me that he said that literally after cutting the guy he drafted the year before. But he did say that, so maybe he continues to be patient. We shall see. Dustin, thanks for the super chat. Poor Narv Kitten. Oh, boy. Has he been downgraded already from Narv Dog to Narv Puppy? Now he's Narv Kitten. That's upsetting. Ryback, thanks again. Man, can't wait to hear Corey's rant on Narv Puppy this week. Oh, I think he's kind of out of it because we had 2 misses, and it was just inevitable. Corey didn't even blink. He didn't even get upset during the watch party. I couldn't believe it. So I think he's been beaten into submission. He's just ready for it. We literally loaded up his rant from week 1 in case homeboy got out there and missed again. But that never occurred. Eric, thanks for the super chat. Is it time to draft a receiver high in next year's draft? Our receivers seem to never make contested catches or any catches that aren't wide open. No. Now, that doesn't mean they won't draft a wide receiver. They most certainly could. But it's one game, man. There's so much ball game left to be played. It is early in the season. And also, they're still very, 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 very young at the position. These guys are still all on their rookie contracts. A little patience, just a little patience. Again, it doesn't mean they're not going to draft a receiver. They very well might, but just calm down. Soder, what's going on, man? Offense didn't collapse when Watson went out. It didn't, much like it used to when MVS went out, right? Funny how that works. Green Ranger, what's going on, man? We back the pack. What a game. Green Ranger, I like your attitude. I mean, it's hard not to get upset and frustrated when you come up short the way the Packers did today, especially in a game that they hurt themselves so much repeatedly. But yeah, of course, we're not going anywhere. Green and gold till we're dead and cold or something like that. Abdul, thanks again, man. Of all the mistakes, what was the most costly one? You always want to know like the most brutal negative thing possible, Abdul, and I respect it. I mean, there's so many. There's so many, man. I don't know. For me, the one that sticks out in my mind, and look, the missed kicks are brutal. The love interceptions are tough. But man, Tucker Kraft's fumble. Just get out of just literally the sidelines right there. Step out of bounds. Like, I get you wanted to fight for yardage, but just step out of bounds. The ball is life. And that's in a moment where they're like finally maybe swinging the momentum a little bit. Yeah, that one was brutal. I mean, they were all brutal, though. They were all brutal as hell. All right, buddy, I'm going to have to get going. I cannot thank you enough for hanging out, talking Packers each and every day, Monday through Friday, and also after each and every game here on Gut Reactions. Please do me a monster favor. Hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then tell your friends and tell your family, Cheesehead TV, we are devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Make sure you check cheeseheadtv.com for all the continuing coverage of this game. I'll have good, bad, and the ugly up later this evening. Newsletter will be out tomorrow morning. Make sure you subscribe to the Cheesehead Nation newsletter. You can get it in the link in the description of this video. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night. Keep your head up. A lot of season left. Go Pack Go.